Chapter 7. Soiled Doves. You can cross the street here and stand or sit on the low brick wall at the city's Public Works Community Development Department at 919 Palm Street. The California Saloon, which stood at this corner, was the site of prostitution and frequent orgies, according to a copy of the San Luis Obispo Tribune from January 1876. At this time in our history, brothels were common, and there were 4 of them right along this block. The property along either side of Morrow Street between Palm and Monterey is down and right, was first purchased by Silas Call, a saddle and harness maker from New Hampshire. He acquired the property and ran several prosperous businesses in town. A photo of his opulent home, now long gone, can be viewed on your screen. When he died in 1880, all of that was transferred to his wife, Nancy Emmeline Call. 6 years later, she had closed the legitimate businesses and become the proprietor of several female boarding houses, a euphemism for brothel. The San Luis Obispo ordinance strictly prohibited the practice of prostitution and the running of houses of ill fame, punishable by a fine of up to $300 or 90 days in jail. Mrs. Call was charged with renting houses for the purpose of prostitution in 1895 and fined $75. Nevertheless, Palm Street became known as the Row, where Mrs. Call's establishment, with names such as the Klondike and the Palace, were bustling and prosperous. Despite public outcry against her livelihood, she became one of the most beloved and respected citizens of the community. Here's a photo of Nancy Call and her children taken in 1884, after her husband's death. Because it was a backdoor business, little is known about the women who worked there. Known as ladies of ill fame or soiled doves, the women were often addicted to opiates and laudanum and so were doubly scorned. Wages for prostitutes during the 1880s ranged from 25 cents to $1 per customer for 10 minutes, and of course the madam took a cut of that. Vaseline and boric acid were commonly used to guard against venereal disease and to prevent pregnancy. The physician called to attend to their health needs was himself a customer and died from syphilis. Recent archaeological digs have revealed liquor bottles of all sorts, opium pipes and glass tubes, perfume bottles, jewelry, and medicine bottles from local pharmacies. As you face this building, you'll turn right at this corner, following Morrow Street down to Monterey, right through the once famous red light district. Cross Monterey at the light and then turn right at the light and walk back toward the Mission. You'll stop just before Chorro Street in front of the Sinsheimer building. There's a green bench to sit on if you wish. Newspaper headlines from this era were chock full of public outcry against prostitution. Listen to this excerpt from the San Luis Obispo Evening Breeze in 1894. "A good cleaning up is what our city needs. That many of the long-existing evils may be eliminated and precedent established for the future. We blush to admit the fact that San Luis is one of the toughest towns in Central California. Assignation houses are conducted under the cloak of lodging houses, and while over 30 regular inmates of houses of ill repute ply their shameless vocation constantly, there are scores of others who flaunt their charms on the streets in broad daylight." So when political pressure shut down the Morrow Street brothels around 1900, a new group sprang up just a few blocks from here on the other side of the Mission. This area was referred to as the Sycamore Street in the early 1900s. Women who became prostitutes during this time did so mostly because of circumstance, rather than choice. The loss of a husband or father, combined with limited economic opportunities for women, often forced their decisions. For many, the decision was a temporary one until an alternative such as remarriage liberated them from the profession. Such was the case for Arcadia Shibuya, whose street name was Matilda Rodriguez, a known prostitute on Sycamore Street during the 1920s. According to local historian Dr. Jonathan Cordero, Arcadia Shibuya lost her mother at a very young age and was raised by relatives when her father could not care for her by himself. At 15, she gave birth to an illegitimate child and turned to prostitution as the only means to care for her daughter. Arcadia eventually left prostitution in 1914 after marriage, had several children, yet continued to live on the edge of the ill-famed Sycamore Street neighborhood. The red light district flourished in full swing right up through the 1940s. In the run-up to World War II, our county was the host to 2 of the largest U.S. Army training camps in the country, creating a large influx of potential customers. You should still be standing near the corner of Monterey and Chorro. If you look directly across the street, you'll see a building with a rounded corner once known as the Hotel Blackstone.